Man, this this is like the era, or like I shouldn't say the era, but this is like a definite time of teachable moments um, in my life. Um, so a lady came into work today, and I mean, heads were turning like already. Like she walked in, and it was like I mean, like the people who noticed her was just like, oh goodness, right? and um, needless to say, you could tell who was single and who wasn't, judging by their reaction to how she came into work. And I was, and and even me myself, I was like, I'm gonna go talk to this chick, right? So, chick comes into work. One of the guys up front is the one who's kind of escorting her through the warehouse, and I'm like, no, I gotta at least say hi or something. I can't be a heterosexual male and not say something. So I tell some other guys, I'm like, hey, you just see the chick who walked in? Because she was probably about 5'6", maybe 5'7" in heels. I don't know. Probably about 5'6" though. I give her 130. I mean, like a very well rounded woman. I mean, head curves like a nice country highway. I mean, oh man. Well, I'm over here talking her up to this to one of the guys at work, and a lady who's bisexual, you know, she's like, who are you talking about? I'm like, the chick who just walked into work. So I joked with her, right? And I was like, hey, I got dibs though. You can't be having her. So she laughed and she's like, no, but where is she? I'm like, she's over there talking to two other guys in the warehouse. And she goes, oh, wait a minute. Is that? Oh, I know her. That's so and so. For reference reasons, I'll call her Megan. Let's call her Megan. She's like, oh, that's Megan. I know her. And she like beelined right over there to her. And I'm like, hang on a sec. What? And she goes over there. She's like, hey, Megan. She's like, oh, hey. And they start talking. I'm like, oh, I got to weigh in. So, I wait a moment. Then I go over there and I make my presence known. And then I look at the lady, and she's older than what I thought she was. I thought she was in her 20s. But then I looked at her in the face. I'm like, oh, no, she's mid-30s. Goodness gracious. But, I mean, she kept herself reasonably together. And then she started talking to, the lady I was talking to. And, or the lady who told me she knew who she was. And, they made some reference to, like, bridesmaids and marriage and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, dag. So I'm like, well, maybe they're talking about something else because I walked in the middle of her conversation. And she was like, all right, well, I'll see you later. That's what Megan said to the girl who I knew, and she walked off. And I followed the girl who I knew. I walked off because I'm like, and she's out of my age range as far as dating. So then I was asking, I'm like, what's that? Y'all talking about bridesmaids or something? It's like, she ain't married, is she? She's like, oh yeah, she just got married. I'm like, oh dang, She's like, yeah, she now owns part of this production company, and I was like, how does she own a production company? She just got married. I was like, well, that's kind of weird because I knew the production company she talked about, but I'm like, I thought somebody else owned it. Well, come to find out, she married the guy who owns it. So by default, she kind of owns it. So I was like, oh, dag, oh well, another one slips through the crack. No. But, some more conversation about her goes on, and we find out that she is on the internet in the buff. And I can't tell you the onslaught of cell phones that got pulled out when the website location was given. I was like, oh my goodness, right? And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say what website it is. Not that I'm trying to prevent people from stumbling and keeping it. But I already said she's a part owner of a production company, so I ain't gonna say the website that she's on because people can probably do some deductive Sherlock Holmes research, and I don't want her business out there like that. So I'm gonna keep that on the hush and hush. But I mean, she was like, "Oh yeah, she's on such and such website under such and such name," and it was like you just heard the cell phones coming out like slip, 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 click, 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 click. It's like, oh man, I kid you not. I mean, not 10 minutes went by. 6 or 7 guys had their phones out going, heck yeah, oh, that's her dick. I mean, it was just, it spread like wildfire. And lesson I basically want to say of this is, be careful what you do on the internet. I mean, it's like, good heavens, be careful what y'all do on the internet. I try to tell, my younger siblings this all the time because they grew up in the era of, well, actually now, I mean, they're going to grow up in no era because, they're teenagers. But, they really think that people don't be on the internet like that, looking other people up because, that's not kosher. It's like, no, that's not kosher amongst your generation because of, girls of my generation who are like, oh my God, who does that? But, but then they be doing it because you know how women are. And that's just what it is. That's not sexist. But it's kind of just like, oh my goodness. Like this chick just came in, she was maybe looking for some, I don't know, I guess part-time work. I mean, in my line of industry, it's not really not kosher to work for other companies. It's just because, I mean, it's hard out there, and our line of work is very contractual. So, you can work for competitors and no one says anything, So, anyway, not to get off on all that, but it's like, she's just on the internet, and, she was just like, yeah, she's on the internet. And it's just like, oh, I mean, she even said to the rest of us, she's like, keep y'all's mouth shut. I don't want it known that I'm the one who told everybody that she was on the internet. And we're like, yeah, we know. Now, I guarantee somebody's going to slip up and say something. But it's still, it's just, oh, it's like, be careful what you do on the internet. Because, like, now, again, luckily she married a guy who owns a production company around the city. He, I mean, actually, I don't know his financial situation, but let's just say they're doing well. So she doesn't ever need a job. I can put it that way, So she doesn't have to, be all business-like and, oh, hi, I'm Megan, and we're coming in wearing a, business dress suit and stuff like that. She can, I want to stay at home, and then I just want to stay at home the rest of my life, and she's in a position to do that. Fortunately for her, but it's just how quickly it was announced that she was on the internet. And how quickly so many guys found it. It's just like, I try to stress this to ladies out there. It's just like, you are not, invisible. Like, like I said, this chick was fine. No kids, never married before. Well, I don't think she has kids. She didn't act like she has kids. She got some hips like she has kids. So I don't know. I was like, I don't know her business like that. But, it's just like how quickly, I mean, it blew me away. It's like, and I mean, I can research somebody in a heartbeat, but the fact that the chick who I knew was like, oh yeah, she's on the internet. Go this website under this name. Not 10 minutes, you have like 3 or 4 dudes walking around with her on their phones, like, dang, she got a fatty. It's just like, oh man, and it's just like, oh my goodness. And it's like, and to think that now this is somebody's wife. And I'm not trying to like, cry the blues for him because I know he knows she's on the internet. And the reason how I know is because like I know who her husband was before they got married. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I knew who her husband was from the production company that he owns. So I was kind of like, oh, that's so and so's wife now. I'm like, oh, what? So I'm like, does he know his wife's on the internet like this? And then because like I said, I know him, so I looked him up, and it's like, oh yeah, he knows. Like there's just some pictures that go let's just say cross social media, and it's just like, oh yeah, he beyond knows. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he knew who she was on this website and then tried to get with her because of that. Like I would say, I don't know my boy like that, but it's just like, wow. Okay, I'm like, all right, well, whatever. He put a ring on it. That's his prerogative. I mean, he ain't no choir boy either. So let me just get that out of the way before I get all the MGTOWs running around here talking about. And that is why, we need to go our own way because the girls are just showing everything on the internet, and it's not fair. It's just like whatever. But it's just like, be careful what you do online, man. People will watch. You never know who's watching you. Because it's like, look at it from her perspective. She walks into a warehouse. One guy sees her, just like in this case, me. I think she's beautiful. I go and tell two other guys, did you see the beautiful woman in the warehouse? Like I said, I work in a male dominated industry. So, if you say, hey, there's blood in the water, the sharks will come, So I'm just like, hey, hey, there's a new fish in the pool. It's just like, dun, cue Jaws music, dun, 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 so, and I'm on one. Let me calm down. I had a good day at work, but and it's just like, oh, bam, bam, bam. You're like, these guys know, then these guys know, then these guys know. Then, some chick's like, oh, yeah. Like, yeah, she's hot. It's like, I've seen her naked. How you see her naked? It's like, oh, such and such and such and such. It's like, what? Click, 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 click. Bam. Before she even does a full lap around the warehouse, by the time she's walking out, there's already like 5 or 6 dudes on their phone looking at her naked. It's just like, it's just like, think about that. You don't know anybody. Like, you walk into a place, you don't know anybody in there. By the time you turn around and walk out, 5 or 6 people know who you are and they've seen you naked. Like, think about that. Like, oh, this is why I try to stress to people: stop doing stuff on the internet that you'll think that you might be embarrassed about later. Because see, right now, like I said, she ain't got no kids. She's 35, so she ain't young, but like, she's fine, so ain't nobody gonna say nothing. But she'll probably hop off of this website, like, her account may or may not delete it. Who knows? She'll have a couple kids, do whatever. They'll grow up. Then somebody be like, oh yeah, so and so's on the internet, and it's like, I don't know how it may transpire, but some dude might be like, oh hey, you hear about this chick who's on the internet? Like, check it out. She's such and such on such and such website. It's like, really? And it's just like, mom? It's like, no, oh no. It's just like, oh, that can't happen. That cannot happen. This like, and then what's she gonna be like? Oh, I was young and ignorant. It's like, you were 35. That's inexcusable. And her pictures are, they do span over a couple of years. So, she wasn't, like, this wasn't recent. But, and by not recent, I mean, let's see, it was, yeah, all her photos are, the oldest is 4 years old. Okay, so, that puts her on the website at 31, so it's like, even you can't even be like, oh, I was young, I didn't know the internet was new back then. Like, nah, 4 years ago, nah, internet was like, 19 years old, 20 years old, something like that. I don't know. Going off of 1993, really 94 is when America Online started, but there was still some ISP was before then. But moral of the story, man, just watch what you do on the internet. That's why I stopped doing stupid stuff on the internet. Like, I realized, I'm not sure when I really realized, I think it was probably like sophomore year of college. I was like, I'm not gonna go back through my Facebook statuses and like delete the ones I find embarrassing, because I was like everybody else. I'm over here like, nice sunny day, going to class, like, hey, anybody check out that hot chick on, well, let's see, what was it, like, I don't know, 10th and King or something like that. I don't know. I just made that intersection up. I don't want everybody to know what university I went to, but it was in the Big Ten. I'll give you that hint. I probably already said it, but I just forget. But yeah, it's like, I'm not going back to those statuses. Like, and this chick may not, go back to her such, profile on such and such site. And it's just like, oh man, my kids might, might be on that. It's like, and you don't know who's screenshotting, you don't know who's emailing, you don't know who's sending links. It's just like, you never know who's out there. You're like, in this age of ultra thirst, because women are all going after, the top guys. Again, the 80-20 rule. I'm not sure if I've talked about it yet, but the 80-20 rule, so you got 20% of guys sleeping with 80% of women. It's like, especially in this era of that, it's just like, oh man, like, that other 80% could just do damage. Like, But anyway, that's all I want to say, man. It's like, be careful what you do on the internet. That is public domain. You never know what other people are doing with your information. It's just like, yeah, you may be like, oh, I have privacy settings. It's like, somebody could screenshot it for whatever reason. Be like, hey, check this out. This is funny. Then somebody else will pass it around. Somebody else will pass it around. And, somebody else will look you up. And somebody else will be like, oh, yeah, that's their website. I'm friends with them. Here's their other statuses. And, you're on the internet, even though you got privacy settings. But anyway, be careful what you do out there. That's my video. John from the Gen XY.